allocates a context memory. What is context memory? Context memory is like a closure mechanism. Context memory, the memory allocated for parent, it can be shared for the child, but it is not for every child. The child that runs within the context of the parent, within the context of parent. If any child is outside the context, it cannot access. And the hooks are designed by using a software design pattern. What is it? Dependency injection. They use providers and injectors. So 2 points we learn: how to define a state and how do we access the state, how to define context and how to access the context. Use context is not for creating context, it is just for accessing the context. Context is created by using create context. This is for creating the context. This implicitly maintains a context. So many technologies internally maintain a context memory, but here we have to explicitly maintain a context memory. For that we need to first create context and later we have to use the context. So I explained you how the process works, how data is transported from one component to another. In interviews, these questions are asked in different ways. What is state? What is context? We know that. Sometimes they ask what is local memory? What is context memory? So for components, they will ask. And sometimes what they ask is how to transport data from one component to another. How to transport data from one component to another? If it is a controlled component, then directly we can transport data using properties. Properties are used to transport the data. If it is an uncontrolled component, then we have to implement other techniques. One technique is what? State. It is what? Context. Next important, we have another option how it works. After understanding the context memory, now we need to know about another is use reducer. Another important is use reducer. So how we deal with reducer and work with the reducer. So what is the concept of reducer and what is its purpose? You are very clear with state and context. State is local memory and context is a context memory. So how any another component can access your data if it is not inside the context? How you can transport data across components? Actually, in web applications, generally in web applications, we have one important concept, that is we have an application state and we have a session state. So generally in web applications, state is categorized into two: application state and a session state. Session state means it is maintained from a session start to session end. it is maintained from session start to session end. For example, you logged in into an application. After login, so until you log out, your information is maintained. That means your credentials are maintained until you log out. That is the reason every time if you are doing any transactions, you don't need to enter any password, user ID again and again. But sometimes when you are doing any secured transaction, like you are booking a ticket or you are doing some payment, then what application will do is it will start a session, and that session will end automatically after few seconds, few minutes sometimes. That means you see regularly in websites when you start any transaction of money or transaction of any ticket booking, they will set a timer. I hope you observed that. Timer means what? You have to book the ticket in 5 minutes because you blocked the ticket and you are not booking the ticket. Then how any another person can book it? So then what they do, the block that they have done for your tickets, they will maintain that session only for a matter of 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something. Once it is done, automatically they delete your session. They will say that again, come from the beginning. So for security reasons, for maintaining the load, they maintain one session state. Session state means it stores the values and keeps the values from session start to session end. Actually, so we will have application start. After application start, we have session start and we have session end. You usually have a session end and we have an application end. Internally, so many other phases will be there. For you, it is not required because those all phases are learned by people working in server side technologies. So usually when you are learning a server side technology, you will understand about various application level state, because React is not building an application. React is a library and it is for not building application, it is for building an UI for application. That is the reason we cannot handle applications. Some concept related to application we manage here. Application start to application end. Session start to session end. For example, generally what happens is from application to application start to end, like this, so many sessions can be maintained for different transactions. They will maintain different sessions. That means one object is created and it is maintained for that session. Another object is created and it is maintained for session. The values of one session are not accessible to another. They are not accessible to another. In one session, you finish, that object is destroyed, and you go to another session object is created, and its scope is until you end the session. Now, I want some data not only for the session, for entire application. We need to maintain some data for entire application. So any session can use it. Then we need one more object. This object will be working. This object will be working from application start to application end. And actually, this object will be working for Usually, this object is working for session start to session end. This object is working for session start to session end. Now, data you stored in one session, so it is not accessible to another session. That means there is no connection here. The data of one session is automatically expired once you finish the session. Now what you can do is you can maintain data here. When you maintain data here, then this data is accessible to all. Anyone can access the data. Any session can access the data and it can use the data. Usually, as I told you, so your user IDs, suppose you have an user ID. That user ID is stored at the time of starting application, and until you end, it is maintained. But what happens is your password is not stored sometimes, for example. That is the reason you may see that whenever you start one transaction, many applications, what they do, not every application, many applications, what they do, they will ask verify password. You start some transaction, then they ask verify your password. For every transaction, they will ask verify your password. Why? I already logged in. At the time of login, I already given the password. You successfully verified the password. Then for every transaction, again, why you are asking the password? Because for every transaction, they maintain a session, and that session is expired automatically after the transaction. And to check whether the session is from the same application or not, so they will verify your credentials one more time. Security reasons. Now, you have seen two objects, one session state object, another one is application state object. Now tell me what you understood with application state object. What you understood with application state object. Application state object, we can maintain data in that object so that it is accessible to all sessions. That means at application level, we can maintain some data so that it is accessible to all. Session level, we can maintain data which is accessible only to that session. That is like component. Component have use state. What is use state? Use state is maintaining a session for that component. Once the component is finished, that session ends. That's the reason we are unable to access the data of one session in another. Now we need an application state so that not every time some data is in application level, some data is in session level. What is application level data? You can access from anywhere. Application data. So technically, what is use reducer is going to do is, so it is use it is used to configure application memory. 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 So every application have various phases to maintain state. Have various phases to maintain state. Application start, session start, session end, application end. Reducer maintains application. Reducer maintains application state. which provides data to all sessions in application. Maintains application state, which provides data to all sessions in application. It is available from application start to application end. It is available from application start to application end. So that is application state here. So we have to maintain application state. Let's take one means already I explained an example here, but let's take another one for your convenience sake to understand. Suppose we are having YouTube. In YouTube, we uploaded a video, or say in YouTube, we are having a live video. That means in YouTube, we are having a live video. We have live video going on. When live video is going on, so here it will show live users. So that is some 40 people are currently live. And it will put likes. Now can you tell me, so here, so likes, this is some 300 likes. Now can you tell me what is the difference between the two data? One is live users data and likes data. What is difference? Is that live users data permanently 40? No. Is it continuously increasing? Is it continuously increasing? No. Once the live ends, it will be 0. What about likes? It will continue. It will not decrease. It will continue. Now tell me which one is session, which one is application. Live users is an session because it starts when the live video starts. It ends when the live video ends. But likes is a global state application. At the time you started the likes live, it likes starts. Until you delete the video, it will be there. Until application ends. Even you stop the live, the likes will be continuing. Am I right? So this is the concept of application and session. That means this is the situation for application and session. So we can maintain a session state. We can maintain an application state. You may ask like, means video, it's fine. That means you see, I say application end. That means many people have a doubt like, will a website end? Does any website stop? Does any website stops and starts? Application end means we are saying that the app ends and again it starts later. Have you seen such websites any? There are so many such websites. What they do is They start at a particular time and they end. In other situations, they are not available. For example, you are writing some live exam. They will give one URL, exam URL. They say that this exam starts at this particular time, you please visit. Before the exam time you try to open, it will never open. They don't even start. They start it and they end it after the time is finished. That's not accessible any another time. They given one URL which have a start and we have a end. That happens regularly. That means usually what happens is we have to maintain two types of memories, session, another one application. So usually reducer is used to maintain an application level so that it is accessible to all. What is problem with application state is one of the main problem with application state for developer, not for user. User have a clean use, but for developers problem is application state is not a predictable state. It is not a predictable state. It is not easy to debug it. It is not predictable. It is not easily debuggable. Predictable means developers are not sure about how much data will be there, what data will be there. They're not sure because that state will be changing according to users using. That means we cannot say how many users will use it. That is the reason sometimes applications crash. You see, suppose a sale is going on live and they say that only 1 hour sale. Then in that 1 hour, millions of people try to visit and you will see that that application starts hanging. It will not respond. Sometimes it will say, please try again later. You will see that regularly in any live cricket matches going on. Right, suddenly at peak time, millions of people visited. Last hours, many people visit at a time. Then it starts hanging, it starts slowing down. That means we are not sure exactly how much data will be there, what data will be there, when it will start, when it will end, that certain users load. This is very difficult for web application. That's the reason even high level applications also sometimes they crash because millions of users they are maintaining, but still they have these issues because they are not predictable. We can't easily debug it into the application state. To overcome these problems, React and other web technologies, they have started using some third parties so that they can easily predict your state. They can easily debug your state. And usually they call that as Redux. They call it as Redux. Redux is not only for React. Many people don't know this. Redux is for any JavaScript application. Even in directly JavaScript also you can do. You can use it. That means JavaScript based web applications, they can maintain an application state by using this third party called Redux. By using the third party called Redux. Angular people use it, React people use it, every JavaScript technologies use it. Because many people don't know this, they ask when they come to learn React, they ask, so will you teach Redux in React? Right? So Redux is a general JavaScript library. Some people know Redux without React also. It's not necessary that they have to use with React. Without React, without Angular also, many apps use Redux. It is a JavaScript library. It is very good at large scale when you want to maintain a state. But at a small scale, when you want to maintain a state, application state, this reducer is enough. Use reducer is enough. That means earlier people have to depend on only this. But now at small scale, if you want to maintain an application state, we don't need to go with Redux. Without that, we can just maintain using use reducer. Use reducer will do the same. At large scale, we use this. You are building a large application, lot of application state we have to maintain, then better you can use Redux. See what this Redux says. So what this Redux says, this is Redux. And you see that it is saying that what is the concept here? A JavaScript library. A JavaScript library for predictable, maintainable global state management. Global state is nothing but application state. Application state is globally accessible to all sessions. And what is the main concept? Predictable, maintainable. See the features what they say. They say that so predictable, centralized, debuggable, and flexible. These are the key features. And remember, generally, what is predictable means it provides all the facilities in such a way that developer can exactly track down what data is stored, how much it is stored, when it is stored, when it is updated. That means when the number of people increasing, when they are decreasing, they can easily identify. This is not for user, this is for developer. For developers convenience, we need these kind of libraries to understand what they can do. Centralized means you know that. Centralized means you can access from any location. Another debuggable, easily identify where what is happening. We can fix the issues of data. Flexible is nothing but it is plug-in. It can be easily plug-in with any technology. That is the flexible. Means you can use with React, you can use with Angular, you can use with Vue or ordinary web applications. Even Java.NET applications directly which are using JavaScript jQuery. For such, you can easily handle this. This is the larger scale, at larger scale. But this is not required at a smaller scale. At a smaller scale, React community have provided a solution. They say that you don't need to go to Redux until or unless you need to utilize all its features, you go. Otherwise, just you can use your predictable state inside React using a use reducer. Use reducer. So what this use reducer can do? So it configures predictable, maintainable, and debuggable. So predictable, maintainable, debuggable. State, global state for application. Predictable, maintainable, and debuggable global state for application. So at larger scale, you can use JS library like Redux. At larger scale, you can use JS library like Redux. But at smaller scale, you can use the hook, use reducer. Actually, hook means what? Service. You can use the service, use reducer. Use reducer is a service. Use reducer. So what is the main problem with application state is it is not predictable, it is not easily debuggable. So now it looks little better. We can easily debug and we can handle it. So this is the hook, how we can manage Redux. Another one, use reducer. How this works, what are the components we'll see. Remember, if you know this reducer, later in a project level, I will explain Redux, how to use it. Then it is simple, same as it is. How you use reducer, same as it is Redux. But some more features will come, extra concept will come, so that at large scale it can be utilized. So actually, reducer works with some components. So it is a service, we know that. I will upload this diagram just for later. Okay. So here, let's see the concept. So what is this reducer concept and how this actually works? So we know that every hook is a service. Service contains some components, providers, injectors and all. Reducer have some important components. So reducer have a store. What are the reducer components? Reducer have a store. And reducer uses a state. And we have an UI, user interface. So this is a reducer. Reducer. So that means use reducer depends on these components. It depends on these components. Now what is the point is, store is the location where we keep the data. That means store is the location where we keep all the data. Data is kept in a store. So data is kept in store. This data we have to use in our components. That means this data we have to use in UI. That data cannot be directly used in our UI. You cannot access the data from store directly into UI. It has to come through a state. That means data is in a main store, and from the main store, the data will come to UI by using state. State is going to send the data into UI. UI is nothing but your component. So your component cannot directly use the store. What it will do is, it will get the data from store with the help of state. That means your component usually have a local state. Every component have a local state. From the main store, it will get the data into the store, because you saw the application state. I showed you the previous diagram. Application state is given to session. Session is given to the application. That means what is happening in our previous example means just diagram I will show you. What is happening here? So, right, what is happening here? Directly the data is not coming to the application. What is happening here? This data comes to the session. From the session, it is given to your component. That means it is not directly accessed. It is not directly accessed. Right? So generally what is happening here, data is kept in the store, and from the store data is pulled by the state, and this state will send to the UI. Okay, now in the UI some modifications may happen in the data. That means they may change the data, they can add some new things into the data, it may increment, decrement, as I told you, it may have some interactions. That means now what happens is in the UI the data is manipulated, data manipulations, data displaying, everything happens in the UI. If any actions are performed, that means any actions are performed, any actions are performed, and whatever the new data, so new data is updated into that store. That means new data is collected from the UI. That means what UI is doing, UI is performing some actions, it is modifying the data. So whatever actions are performed and whatever the modified data comes, it is collected by a reducer. That means what reducer will do is, reducer is going to identify what actions performed in the UI, what actions performed. They inserted, they updated, they deleted, or any action, what action performed on the data, and what is the new data. That means some action performed on the data means data might have some changes. What is the new data? What are the changes happened? This is all identified by whom? Reducer. So what is the job of reducer? Reducer identifies the action and reducer will get the latest data, whatever updated data is. This updated data, it will send to store. That means whatever changes happened, whatever new data updated, it is sent to the store. And this cycle will repeat. That updated data is available to the component now. From component, it will come to reducer, reducer to store. From store, it is sent to components. And what is the specialty about this point here is, what is the concept about this point here is, this store can be accessed by different state. That means this store can be accessed by the state. That means now what happens is, we have another state. We have another state. This state can access it, and it can provide to this state, can provide data to another component. Am I right? That means it is going to provide this to another component. It is going to provide to another component which is having another UI. That means this is the UI I am having, and you can see that this is provided to another UI. And in this UI, whatever actions are performed, so it is again comes to another reducer here for them. That means every component will use a reducer, and what will happen, this will update into this. That means this is going to update into the store. That is going to update into the store. This is going to update into the store. And remember, this is UI. Suppose this is a component 1 and this is what component 2. Component 2. Both are using the same data. And one component 2 updates, it is automatically updated to the component 1. When component 1 updates, it is updated to the 2 because it is a global store. It is a global store and it is accessible to all components. Any component can access and use. This is the advantage of maintaining a global state. This is the concept of maintaining a global state. That means anywhere, any component can see what is happening, what changes are happening, it is updated. And what is specialty for developer is, developer can track activity. What data is delivered, when it is delivered, how much data is delivered, everything we can track. Actually, later I will show you in our browser, we can have this Redux tools. We can have these Redux tools. Developers, what we discussed, it is easy to debug. It is easy to debug. So that means we have debugging tools for separately application state. Through these debugging tools, developer can track when data is updated, what data is updated. So what is the previous data, what is the current data, everything it will track. These developer tools, actually, currently I have React developer tools. These React developer tools are required for production level. Currently we are in development level. Later you will learn about how to use these dev tools, Redux dev tools. For that we need to install Redux and all. Later I will show you. That means we can debug. We can track what data is sent, when it is sent, what is the data previous, what is the data current. Because before updating here, before updating, we have some data. After updating, the new data comes into this. Now developer can easily track down what is the data previous, what is the data current. He can easily identify whether data is coming or not. Are there any issues in that? All. This is the concept of, this is global store. That's what Redux says, that it maintains a global store for JavaScript based applications. What is the advantage of this global store is, it is predictable, it is centralized, it is debuggable, and it is easily extensible. Right? So technically, this is another diagram I will give. So app state 1 png. Okay, this is Redux flow. Reducer flow I will give here. These are reducer components. So reducer provides various components. Reducer provides various components. It is going to provide various components. Reducer provides various components. So what are the components? Store, state, so UI, reducer. These are the components. So store is the global location where the data is kept. Store is a global location where the data is kept. Right. Next, state is responsible for accessing the data from store and provide to UI component. To UI component. So UI is the location where we present the data and handle data manipulations. UI is the location where we present the data and handle the data manipulations. So reducer configures the actions and manages the state. Reducer configures the actions and manages the state. It triggers the actions and updates the state into store and updates the state into store. Into the store. Store is a global location where the data is kept, and state is responsible for accessing the data from store and provides to UI component. Those two diagrams I will upload how it is accessible to that. Right. Now, in this reducer, how the configuration works here is, see, now here some more points are there. That means these two I will show you how the flow works actually. One more concept is generally means what is the concept of data transferring is. For example, we are having some means without this application level how data is transferred. Actually what happens, suppose we are having a state. We are having a state. And from this state, so we have two components. This is component 1 and this is component 2 and this is component 3. Three components are there. Now I need to transport the data from one component to another. That means now this is the state of component 1. Is it accessible to component 2? No. Is it accessible to component 3? No. Then what we have to do, there is a technique. From component 1, you can pass the data to component 2. From component 2, you can pass the data to component 3. This you can do. Later I will show you. We can use query strings. You know, you learned in JavaScript how to transport data from one page to another. How you transport data from one page to another? We can transport by using query strings, local storage, session storage and all. You learned query string, how it transports from one page to another, from that page to another. Now what is the point about this global store? That means you can maintain a store here, and this store can be accessible to all. That looks better. That means that is what you are going to do. We are going to implement this mechanism. That means it is accessible to all components. Any component can access and use. But for that we need to build an application at that level. So we are not still building any application. We are currently just learning about the components. In the next level, once I finish all the components concept, we will build one app. We will build a project. In that, we can implement all this. Means in the same concept we can do. Here we will see how it works. But the implementation of multiple components, sharing the data, everything we have to manage at a higher level. We'll see that how it happens. So now what we have to do in this process, that means how to create and configure that. So So here I will give you the process. So and using configuring and using application state. Configuring and using application state. So first point is configure store with the initial values. Configure store with initial values. Configure store with initial values. So that is define initial state. Define initial state. So we create LET initial state and is equal to, in that we can maintain what is the data. We will create an object. What is the data to maintain? For example, first I will give one example. Suppose I am giving views count. Views count we are maintaining. And initially what is the value of this is 0. That means how many views are for a video. A small views count and we just given as 0. First we will see basic and later you can have any number of whatever data you want you can store. Actually the store is an object with a key and value. It is an object with key and value. So first point. So make sure that the store is an object with key and value references. Store is an object with key and value references. First we have to configure the store. And state and UI we don't do because state is nothing but use state. A local state is maintained. UI is nothing but the component. Component is the UI. What we have to do, reducer we have to define. So configure a reducer function. Configure a reducer function that handles the actions and data. That handles the actions and data. So we have to reduce function. Reducer is a function. It will have action and state. It will have a state and action. So what reducer will do is it collects the data using state and it identifies the actions, what activities perform. Activities means action can be like insert, update, delete, any kind of action. Here currently we are using views count like. Okay. So views count, likes count, anything we can do. Views count is a session state. Better I will maintain this as what? Likes count. Okay. Likes count. I'll just make it as a likes count. Now, what we have to do is define the action and state behavior. We have to define the action and state behavior in reducer function. That means we have a function, and what is the function? Reducer. Reducer function will have a state and we have an action. And what is the action? There may be several actions. If they have done add, then it says added. If they say delete, it says deleted. If they say edit, it should be edited. I told you, right? We do CRUD operations on the data. Adding, inserting, updating, deleting, all such things. So we will use a switch. Into that we will pass action type and we define the cases. Case is like say uh, yeah, so we say add like something like this, add like. When user clicks on add like, what it should do, so if user say add like, it should increase the like by 1. Means already what we have to do, return an object. This object will have likes count. We are having a likes count, and the likes count is nothing but already whatever state dot likes count, like count, likes counter, likes count, state dot likes count plus 1. That means we will increment by 1. So we will increment by 1. Similarly, we have like add this unlike. Suppose add unlike something like this. It is just a rough syntax. Then what we will do? Likes count will decrease. Likes count plus minus 1. That means actually it is not unlike, like you can say that undo. That means sometimes people like, after like, immediately they can undo. Undo like unlike. It will automatically remove that count once. And remember, this is only related to a small data. Later we will add arrays, objects, complex operations we will add. CRUD operations we generally add here. Later when we are designing a backend application, we will add all the CRUD operations here. Insert, update, delete, all operations we will manage. Okay, reducer contains an action and define. Now, this reducer should be used in your components. Components have to use this reducer. So, what is the next step? Every component can access and use the reducer and state defined globally and state defined globally. So it requires the hook, it requires use reducer hook. It requires use reducer hook. We have to use the reducer hook. So we have a constant state and dispatch, and it is going to use reducer, and it is going to use the reducer and initial state. That's how we do. So reducer is expecting two things. One is action to dispatch and data to update. Which action to dispatch? Is it insert action, update action, delete action to dispatch? Which action to dispatch? And on that action, what state to dispatch? What data to dispatch? Data is in state. Action is dispatched by using dispatch. So dispatch defines the actions performed in component. Defines actions performed in component. So actually it is a trigger that dispatches the actions. Now here state, it comprises of the payload. We already learned what is a payload. It comprises of the payload. Payload is the data delivered. To update into global store. Global store. Now usually component uses dispatch to trigger the action. That means what it will do, we have a function called handle some like click. On like click, what it has to do, it should dispatch. Dispatch, what is the action type? Action type is what? Dispatch the action type as, we have two actions now. One is add like. Add like action it will dispatch. And we have function handle dislike or unlike dislike. Just roughly we have dispatch. It should dispatch the action type as add unlike. So you need to just understand the concept. Implementation in a project we will do later. You need to just know what is this reducer, because we will implement this in a component now. Means we will implement in a project where we build all the CRUD operations. So let's see one simple point here, how we define this. That means global store. And when you create that global store at Redux level, then you can see the debugging also, how it is debugged and how it is handled. Initially just, so we are going to create. So just I will keep an example here. So let's create component. Yeah, in the components we are using reducer demo, or say, yeah, reducer demo. Okay, add reducer demo.jsx. So we have export function reducer demo. Okay, and return a simple container fluid. Okay, here we are adding some iframe. You know, iframe width is some 400, height as some 300, and iframe have an src. So for example, I'm embedding some YouTube video. Suppose YouTube Naresh IT is there, and I will select any video here. Some video we will select here. Yeah. And I will copy this video code. Yep. I'm copying that video code. And we will post here as https youtube.com/embed/ that video code. You know how to embed YouTube videos. Okay, so here we will keep it div and the class margin y2. We have a button and we have class btn and btn some primary bi thumb up, hand thumbs up, and we have a span. We have a span. Okay. Now this is just only the content we are having. Now let's maintain this one. Reducer demo. Reducer demo. Yes, you people, please get out, man. Huh? Please get out. What you are doing? Please get out. It's disturbing us. Huh? You people not disturbed by them. Kick them out. You people kick them out. If they do that again, huh? Right. So here you see now when we are doing this startup is there. Yeah. Now we have a video. Now we need the likes here. We embedded a video, right? And here we need to put the count. We need to display the count below beside it, right? Now what we do, you know, this is how we embed videos, YouTube videos and all we embed using iframe. Okay. Now what we do here, we will maintain a global state. So first we have initial state. Initial state is our global state. You can call it as store. At higher level, we use those words. At higher level, we will use store and all this because in Redux, this is in reducer initial state. How much? Initial state is an object. What it is having? Views counter, likes count, and the likes count is an 0. Initially, it is set to 0. It starts with 0. Okay. Now we need to create a reducer function. Function reducer. Reducer is a function. What is specialty in Redux is these all are built in. You have to just use them. Reducer is built in. The store is built in. You have to just import. You can import a store and you can use it. Later at higher level, you see reducer have two things. One is state, another one is action. So what is the switch? Here we have an action type. If action type is case, it is a like. So add like. Then what should happen? It should return an object. That object contains an likes count. Likes count will get the state dot likes count plus 1. It will increase by 1. So what is it? It will use state dot likes count. Here we will put a object just normal. It is already there. Yeah, we are just increasing the likes count and put that 1. That means actually what happens from a component, the number will come. So that means this likes count will come from any component. Likes count will come. When likes count will come, it will increase by 1. And after that it will store inside this location. Actually this state comes from one component. So generally we have a component. In the component, whatever state is there, in the component they click a like button. When they click a like button, what it will do? It will send a state. In the state, it will have a likes count. It will send that likes count. It will collect that likes count, increase by 1, and what it will do, it will store here. That means it is stored in the initial state. Initial state means in the global state it is stored. Similarly, you can have dislike count. You can add many. So we have add dislike or unlike. So something like dislike, right? Dislike is the option. Okay, what it should return? It should return likes count and the state dot likes count -1. It will be decremented by 1. We need to configure that. Later we can add lot of functionalities, add, remove, edit, delete, such operations we will have. As I told you, CRUD operations. Now this must be used by your components. This is initial state and this is reducer. It should be used by your component. This is one component. Any component can use. How to access in that component? We need to configure a constant. So we need what? Dispatch. Another one is what? State. So we need a state and a dispatcher. State and dispatch. We need a state and dispatch. In that we need to configure what? Reducer. Another one is initial state. Using what? Using use reducer. Using use reducer, we need to configure this. Use reducer is imported from React. So what use reducer will do is, it will collect the action and it will update that into the initial state. So now what we will do on this button click, we will write function. So function is handle like click. Handle like click, what we have to dispatch? We have to dispatch a type. Which type we have to dispatch? Add like function we have to dispatch. Now what this add like will do is, it will collect the data and it will send it. And where the data is present, from initial state, whatever data is coming, initial state is having a likes count now. This likes count is accessible through this local state. Local state can access the likes count. That means directly we can't access the initial state. We have to access through a local state. We created a local state. Through the local state, we can access that initial state. Now what we need to do? So we have to access the state and display the state. We need to access and display the state here. How do we access and display the state? We have to use state dot likes count. State dot likes count. That means what is the likes count? By default it is 0. That means it is displaying likes count as 0 likes something. It is displaying that 0 likes. And I click on this, it should increase by 1. We have to write a button click now. That means what we have to do, on click, handle like click. Handle like click. And what that handle like click have to do is, it should increment the like. It should increment the like. This we can do in a general way, but here the key point is, these likes are stored globally. That globally you will see when you are implementing a project, because here we don't have multiple sessions. We don't have an application completely. Here just we designed in a component. But what is the specialty later you will see is, any person likes, it will update here. From any component he can like, it will update here. That is the key concept of these likes. These likes are globally stored. Actually we can debug and we can check that, but for that we need Redux to install separately. As of now, React developer tools are not possible, because at production level we can use them. Currently our project is not running at production level, it is running at development. When development level it is running, so what we can do is, we can just watch it here. Later I will show you how to debug. Debug means, Redux we will implement, we install a separate tool, and for that we will check the on click, what action is triggered, what what data is stored, what is previous value, what is next value, how to debug I will show you. But remember, this is global store. Likes are stored globally. That means we can access not only here, from any component we can access and use. That infrastructure we will build in next levels. When we design one application, we will do that infrastructure. Initially, we are maintaining a global store and we are updating the data into the global store. The global store is what? Initial state. Initial state. This is one example for that. That means how the entire process works. This is example for reducer demo dot what JS. So we have 3 hooks now. What are the hooks we learned? One is use state, another one use context, another one use reducer. Related to state, some more are there that we will see in next session. Tomorrow we will do that. So once we finish this hooks, now we will go about class components. Till now we have learnt about function. Now we will go into class. So classes, how to handle them, right? Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay.